Welcome to our health hacks. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects us all, how plastics impact your daily health. Stay tuned to learn more about the hidden dangers of plastics in our everyday lives, and be sure to like and subscribe to stay up on our new content. So you're eating healthy, trying to take care of your body, but did you know that there's a good chance you're also ingesting microscopic pieces of plastic? That's right, microplastics. These tiny particles are everywhere, and I mean everywhere. They're in the oceans, in the air we breathe, and yes, even in our food and water. How do they get there? Well, imagine a plastic water bottle exposed to sunlight over time. It breaks down not into nothing, but into smaller and smaller pieces. Those pieces become microplastics. Now think about all the plastic that ends up in landfills and the ocean. It's a pretty unsettling thought, right? These microplastics can end up in our food and beverages through various pathways. One way is through the packaging. Think about those plastic containers we use to store leftovers, or those single-use plastic water bottles we grab on the go. Over time, tiny particles from these plastics can leach into our food and water, especially when they're heated up. And it's not just packaging. Microplastics have been found in seafood, salt, sugar, honey, beer, you name it. We don't know the full extent of the long-term effects of ingesting microplastics. Studies suggest links to inflammation, liver and kidney damage, and even disruptions to our hormonal systems. We just saw how microplastics can sneak into our food and drinks, but what about the air we breathe? Sadly, these tiny particles don't just stay grounded, they can become airborne, making their way into our lungs with every breath we take. Think about it, synthetic fabrics, car tires wearing down, plastic dust from, well, just about everything. These are just some of the sources that release microplastics into the air. It's like an invisible plastic smog that we're constantly breathing in. Our respiratory system is designed to filter out foreign particles, but these microplastics are so tiny that they can slip through the cracks, lodging themselves deep within our lungs. Studies have shown that people who are exposed to high levels of microplastics in the air, such as those living near industrial areas or high traffic zones, may experience more respiratory symptoms like coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath. These tiny particles can also carry other harmful pollutants, acting like tiny Trojan horses transporting toxins into our lungs. Let's talk about chemical leaching, a hidden danger of plastics that often flies under the radar. You see, plastics are often made with a cocktail of chemicals, some of which have been linked to various health problems. These chemicals aren't always tightly bound to the plastic, and over time, they can leach out, especially when exposed to heat, sunlight, or even just the natural process of aging. Think about it. You store your leftovers in a plastic container, pop it in the microwave to heat up your food, and unknowingly, some of those potentially harmful chemicals migrate from the container into your food. Or how about those plastic water bottles? Leaving them in a hot car or reusing them multiple times can accelerate the leaching process, exposing you to even higher levels of these chemicals. Exposure to endocrine-disrupting chemicals has been linked to a range of health problems, including reproductive issues, developmental problems in children, obesity, diabetes, and even certain types of cancer. Chapter 4. Your skin's not-so-secret encounter with plastics. We've covered how plastics can impact our health through ingestion and inhalation, but what about our skin, the largest organ in our body? Believe it or not, even our skin can absorb chemicals from plastics, especially when we're in direct and prolonged contact with them. Think about the clothes we wear, the containers we touch, and even the furniture we sit on. Many of these everyday items contain plastics or plastic-derived materials. Now, our skin acts as a barrier, protecting us from the outside world, but it's not an impenetrable fortress. Some chemicals, especially smaller molecules, can penetrate the skin's surface and enter our bloodstream. While the amount of chemicals absorbed through skin contact with plastics might be relatively small compared to ingestion or inhalation, it's still a cause for concern, especially with repeated and long-term exposure. Some of the chemicals found in plastics that can be absorbed through the skin have been linked to skin allergies, irritation, and even more serious health problems like hormone disruption and cancer. Chapter 5. The elephant in the delivery room: plastics and reproductive health. Now let's address a sensitive but crucial topic: the potential impact of plastics on reproductive health. Studies have shown that certain chemicals found in plastics, particularly endocrine disruptors, can interfere with our hormones. And as you know, hormones play a vital role in reproductive health, both in men and women. For men, exposure to these endocrine-disrupting chemicals has been linked to a decrease in sperm count, reduced sperm motility, meaning the sperm aren't swimming as efficiently, and even changes in sperm morphology, the shape and structure of the sperm. These changes can make it more difficult to conceive. And it's not just men who are affected. In women, these chemicals can disrupt the menstrual cycle, affect egg quality, and even increase the risk of endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS. The developing fetus is particularly vulnerable to the effects of endocrine-disrupting chemicals. Exposure during pregnancy has been linked to a range of developmental problems in children, including low birth weight, premature birth, and even behavioral issues later in life. Chapter 6. The C word. Can plastics increase your cancer risk? It's the topic no one wants to talk about, but we need to address the elephant in the room: the potential link between plastics and cancer. Now, I'm not saying that all plastics cause cancer, but there is growing evidence suggesting that certain chemicals found in plastics may increase the risk of developing certain types of cancer. One of the most well-known culprits is bisphenol A, or BPA, a chemical commonly found in polycarbonate plastics, which are often used to make food containers, water bottles, and even baby bottles. BPA is an endocrine disruptor, meaning it can mimic or interfere with our hormones. Studies have linked BPA exposure to an increased risk of breast cancer, prostate cancer, and even some childhood cancers. Another group of chemicals to be wary of are phthalates, which are often added to plastics to make them more flexible and durable. Phthalates are also endocrine disruptors, and studies have linked them to an increased risk of liver cancer, breast cancer, and testicular cancer. Chapter 7. Plastics and your immune system. A recipe for disaster. Let's talk about our immune system, our body's natural defense system that protects us from harmful invaders like bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens. It's a complex and intricate system that relies on a delicate balance. But what happens when that balance is thrown off? Well, that's where plastics come in. Studies have shown that exposure to certain chemicals found in plastics can disrupt our immune system, making us more susceptible to infections, allergies, and even autoimmune diseases. One way that plastics can impact our immune system is by triggering inflammation. Some chemicals found in plastics can trigger this type of inflammation, putting our immune system on high alert and potentially leading to immune system dysfunction. Another way that plastics can affect our immune system is by interfering with the development and function of immune cells. Chapter 8. The heart of the matter: plastics and cardiovascular health. Now, let's talk about the potential impact of plastics on our cardiovascular system, the system responsible for pumping blood throughout our body. You might not think that plastics and our hearts are connected, but the truth is, the chemicals found in some plastics can have a negative impact on our cardiovascular health. One way that plastics can affect our cardiovascular system is by increasing inflammation. Chronic inflammation can also damage our blood vessels, making them more susceptible to plaque buildup. This plaque buildup can narrow our arteries, restricting blood flow and increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke. Another way that plastics can impact our cardiovascular health is by disrupting our hormones. Some of these endocrine-disrupting chemicals found in plastics have been linked to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and other risk factors for heart disease. Outro: reducing your plastic footprint for a healthier you. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more informative content. Stay healthy and be mindful of the plastics in your life. We've covered a lot of ground today, and it might seem overwhelming. But remember, even small changes can make a big difference. Start by reducing your use of single-use plastics, opting for reusable alternatives whenever possible. Every little step counts towards reducing our exposure to the potentially harmful chemicals found in some plastics.